All right, YouTube. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are MTS Builds, and we are back on the Marketplace C15 truck. Last episode, kind of picked this thing up. It had been sitting for about 15 years. Body's in pretty rough shape, and it was not running. So we got it to fire up. We didn't get it quite to idle. But put a new carburetor on, went through a compression test, checked all the spark plugs, made sure all the wiring was in order, and now we're working on the fuel system. So I got some parts here. I got a new fuel sending unit, I got new fuel lines, I got a new fuel pump, and the new carburetor's already on there. So the tank, I did clean out the tank. I got it sitting over here. Dropped the whole tank, let it sit with a bunch of vinegar in it, kind of clean it out as best as I could, and now it's been sitting and drying for a few days to get all that water out and make sure that there's no water in the gas. So today we are going to start putting this thing back together. In hopes that we could get it idling. I think the fuel supply was our big issue there. Once we get this all back together, we're probably gonna have to do a little adjustment on this carburetor because it is brand new, just out of the box. And then I gotta look at the choke setup and see the carburetor I got is set up for an electric choke. The one that I took off here had a manual choke on it, vacuum assisted. So right now I just pulled the fuel lines off of the fuel pump down there. As you can see, got to get those two bolts out, and then we're going to pop that thing off. And then it's kind of a pain, but inside that frame rail, it's just a short, like 10-12 inches of rubber fuel line before it gets into the hard lines that go back to the tank. So I'm going to replace those rubber lines and put the new fuel pump on. Fuel pump's pretty easy. It's a 5/8 for the hard line that goes up to the carburetor. The rubber lines just have clips on them, and then it is a 7/16. Yep, 7/16 to take those two bolts out of the fuel pump. So we'll knock that out, and then we'll move back to the rear of the truck, replace the rubber lines that go to the tank, pop that new sending unit into the tank and get that set up there, and then we'll see what happens from there. All right. Need an extension on that. There's the old fuel pump. All right, so while doing the fuel pump, if you could see in there, magnets. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but the push rod is down at the bottom. So when that happens, it could be a pain in the butt. But there is bolt on the front side of the fuel pump over here. I'm going to try to point it out here. So right under this fuel line, there's a bolt there. It's a little short bolt. If you pull that out and put one of the existing fuel pump bolts through there, the hole goes all the way through, and it'll snug right up against the push rod and hold your push rod up while you're putting the fuel pump in. You don't want to be fighting that push rod the whole time. So if you just move it up, put that longer bolt in, snug it, you can get your fuel pump in place, and then remove that bolt and then put it in to hold the fuel pump, and you got the other one to hold it tight. So just a little trick when doing these fuel pumps. I'm getting that bolt out right now. It's kind of fighting me a little bit just because of how tight it is. But yeah, little tip for you guys. All right, so as you can see, this is the bolt that I pulled out of there. This is the fuel pump bolt. They're the same thread. It just goes farther in, and it'll hold that push rod in place so you can work easily. All right, so I got that 7/16 ran all the way up in there, and then you can see that push rod is clearly out of the way, so that gives me room to work, to grease it, and get that new fuel pump in without fighting it. I may be fighting this a little bit because I did already put fuel lines, new fuel lines on here. Stand by. All right, so I was trying to get ahead of myself, trying to make my life easier by pre-staging those fuel lines on the actual pump. It was easier to get to. Not that it's terribly hard, but I need to get these old ones out of the way so it could sit up where it needs to. That's bolt started. We gotta pop this one out. There we go. There we go. All right, put the ratchet on these. And then after, all right, so this one right here and this one right here are my new fuel lines. This one and this one are the old ones that I have to disconnect up in here. That's where the hard lines connect. This truck is filthy dirty underneath here, and a real kind of pain in the ass to get to. So I'm probably just going to do this, and then I'll show you once I'm done. All right, fuel lines are in. Nice new fuel lines, and it all looks pretty good. So we're going to move on to the sending unit and the tank now. All right, so just popped the new sending unit in the tank. This tank is going to come off again because when I replace the cab corners, I'm not going to weld next to the fuel tank, so I will drop this tank again. And I think down the road, this is going to be controversial, but I think we're going to cut this down to a short bed. I prefer the short beds personally. So let me know what you think. If we should cut it down to a short bed, leave it a long bed, drop a comment. And we'll see where it goes from there. I got dirt in my mouth from under there. So new sending units in, new rubber gasket. Pop that in, put pressure on it, and then this locking collar on the outside just spins around until you hit your stops there. 3 lines. Those 3 lines, these are the 3 rubber lines that are underneath there. I'm about to build a new pack like this with 3 of them so I could loop it up over the frame. So we'll put that together out here and then just drop that in. And then the sending unit came with a new ground that just plugs right in there. So there's a bolt on the frame. You got to replace that ground, feed that through the little grommet there, and then that just plugs in, and then the positive plugs in to the little nipple on the sending unit. And then we'll get the tank mounted in there and attach the filler neck. All right, let's do it. Okay, so here's our ground for the sending unit. We'll take that off, put the new ground on. Here's our fuel lines, and then up top here is where that fuel lines will bolt in. And then they come over to the other side. You got your positive with the clamp. That goes right down on it, and then you mount your fuel tank. So let me find a place to put this camera. Yeah, look at all them dirt daubers on the exhaust. That's how you know this thing hasn't ran in a while. And of course I grabbed the wrong size. And the new ground pops right down there. And then the only thing we'll have to put this under there, feed these lines through, connect the positive, and then we can bolt the tank in. And that'll be easier than having the lines there and trying to hook that up underneath there. All right, folks, so I made a mistake. When I cut these fuel lines, I cut them to the lengths of the ones that I took off. forgetting that I had actually cut one of the fittings off. So this is not the actual length. It is another 4 inches longer. So I had to redo those fuel lines. So it was either drop the tank or take the bed off, which the bed was gonna come off anyways. The tank's gonna come off anyways too, but this gives me a little bit easier access to redo those fuel lines. And I could. All right, so we're back. Truck's back in the garage. Got the new sending units in, got the fuel line hooked up, put a fuel filter in there just to see what comes out of here. It should be clean, should be fine, but I didn't see a filter anywhere within the line. So let's turn the key and see what she wants to do. All right, I'm gonna have to put the jump back on her, and probably also gonna have to prime that bowl a little bit. Oh, bear with me. Alright, let's put a little down the snout. All right, so I gave myself a time of 2 o'clock where I got to stop working in here and go get cleaned up. We are going out of town. So I threw the battery charger on there and I put it to start to see what happens. I don't know if we're not getting enough cranking amps. I'm gonna let that sit for a little while. Let's check the fuel filter, see if we even got fuel in that filter. That pump's doing its job. All right, got this thing pushed outside. I just swapped the distributor cap on here because we weren't getting sparks again. Not firing. Let's see what she does now. Oh, she's alive. She's smoking a bit. She ain't ran in a while. Let's see, we got good oil pressure. Good voltage. She's alive and smoking like a dream. All right, let's shut her off. All right, guys, it's idle. Gotta tune it a little bit. Gotta adjust it. I swapped the distributor. I spent probably 20 minutes just turning this thing over, and it wasn't cranking. It was cranking, but it wasn't busting off. I was thinking it wasn't getting enough power, so I changed the terminals, you know, swapped the distributor cap. This one's brand new, like inside is brand new. The other one was even worse than this, and put that on and she fired right up. So my guess is that something's wrong with this coil pack that's on top of here, because she busted right off. All right, I got my seat installed. Got to take this thing for a quick little ride, see how the brakes are, see how she shifts. I don't know if this bucket's gonna work. Going in here, I gotta check the linkage. All right, she's idling, guys. I'm pumped. Sorry, it's getting a little dark out here. I gotta adjust the throttle or the idle screws a little. It is leaking some oil. I threw a pan under there. And it doesn't feel like it's going into gear, so there's nothing that happens when I shift it. So I don't know if it's linkage or if that tranny's just been sitting for so long. Not sure. We're gonna have to do some diagnostics and figure out what's going on. But she runs. She got 2 headlights, she's got running lights. I'm pumped. And it, you know, that motor sounds pretty damn good. It's a win for today, boys. All right, Friday night, just got off work, cleaning up the garage, gonna get the truck pulled back in here. Went over to the local O'Reilly's, picked up some brake pads for the front, a new brake master cylinder, the 4 other spark plugs that we didn't replace, some extra brake fluid, a new thermostat, and the transmission filter kit to service the transmission. So it's obviously already running. She runs pretty good. The transmission's kind of giving me a hard time. It sat with no fluid in it for, I couldn't even tell you how long, but probably the better part of 15 years. I don't know how quickly that leaked out. There was a little bit of a drip that seems to have stopped. But the underside of the motor and the transmission are all covered in oil. So we're gonna get it up on the lift over at my buddy's house here in the next few days, hopefully. He's got another truck up on there right now. So once that comes off, we're gonna throw this thing up there and take a look at the bottom side of it. I ordered all the sheet metal to start patching up the cab. And then tomorrow morning, I think I'm gonna hook up the trailer and take about a 2-hour drive. I found a steel on a short bed. So I think we are gonna move forward with chopping this thing down from a long bed to a short bed. I know it's controversial to some people about cutting these long beds down, but I've kind of always wanted the short bed. I like the short bed look. So for the price on this short bed, I'm gonna go grab it. But I'd like to get it running, driving, shifting, cooling, braking, all the requirements good before we go ahead and actually start cutting into it and making it what we want it to be, because we may run into something where maybe it needs a new transmission completely or whatever. So we'll see. But I'm gonna go ahead and get it fired up and bring it into the garage. All right. How are you gonna start for me? Ooh. Cold out. It's about 55 degrees here. She's still a little smoky. She clears up, but I messed with the idle a little bit 2 days ago, just getting her to idle, and once she's warming up, she idles pretty good. I also did change the oil on it already, just because that oil that was in it was black. So as she was running, I just wanted to make sure that we're getting good lubrication and good oil in it. So she just died again. I'm gonna get her pulled into the garage. I'm gonna have to let her warm up a little bit. Just threw the new spark plugs in real quick. I'm gonna throw it on a time lapse, throw the thermostat in real quick, and then maybe get into that brake booster. The plugs in the thermostat are in. I didn't get a thermostat housing gasket, so I reused the old one. We'll see if it holds. I'll have to order one, pop that out. It's 2 bolts, too easy, but let's see if it leaks right now. Pretty sure that's pissing out the battery. All right. So I left off replaced the thermostat. The thermostat was still leaking. That old seal wasn't doing it. Went out to the O'Reilly's, picked up a new seal. Thermostat is good. Threw in the new brake master cylinder. The chambers for the master cylinder are switched on this one. So the bigger line goes to the front and the smaller line goes to the back. The original master cylinder that was on here was reversed. So had to do a little research. It's, from what I read, it's just which chamber controls the front and the rear brakes. It could only go in one way. That's the way I put it in. Shouldn't really have any effect on the braking. So that's pretty simple. You undo the two brake lines, let those go. 2 bolts. Master cylinder comes right off. You want to make sure that you bench bleed it before getting all the air out of the master cylinder, before you hook it back up and bolt it back to the booster, and then put your lines back to it. Now, I just jacked it up. We're going to get into the brakes tomorrow after I go and pick up this bed for it. So this thing's pretty nasty. We'll probably get in here with the wire wheel and clean some of this up, see what we could see. I gotta order new shocks still. There's a ton of buildup and grease and stuff on the bottom here, if you could see. We'll knock some of that off, clean some of this up. Stuff's just caked on. And then take a look at the body. It looks like somebody tried patching that. It's like a bolt. I don't. Maybe that's factory. I don't know. But this front clip. Look at all that Bondo. I don't know if you guys could see all that Bondo back in there, but this is just all Bondo right here. Everything. Yeah, Bondo. So. Maybe looking for some patch panels. Maybe looking for, if I could find a new front clip for this thing, that would be easiest, I think. And then I'll just do the metal work on the cab, which I have all ordered. Because the bed that I'm picking up tomorrow is blue. I like the two-tone patina, or the two-tone paint on it. The last brown one that I had, the patina looked really good on it once I cleaned it up. But some of this stuff just isn't worth the time salvaging it when it's full of Bondo like that. And if I could find a new front clip, maybe I'll do that. Maybe, I mean, really, it's just the front fenders. There's also this bed that I'm getting tomorrow. The guy says it's got some rust in it, but the floor still looks good. I can't imagine it's as bad as the bed that I have. So we'll see. I mean, this short bed, I'm paying $100 for this thing. That's a steal for a short bed. I think we'll see what kind of shape it's in, but yeah, I think I'm gonna call it a night. I got the trailer hooked up. I gotta adjust the ball on here because that tongue's riding too low. But I'm gonna get the trailer hooked up, sitting right, and get ready to get on the road tomorrow morning early, so I could get back and still do a little bit of work. All right, see you tomorrow. All right, folks, we are in the truck. We are actually on our way back now. Took about a 2-hour drive to go pick up this short bed. $100 for a 77. It came off a K series, a K10 short bed for $100. It's still got some rot and it's still got some rust and it still needs some work, but I think it's a little easier to start with the short bed and kind of just do the patches than have to cut down the long bed and still do all those patches on it. So we'll rob some parts from the long bed, the tail lights and the tailgate hinges, and probably some other stuff. We'll see if there's any good steel that's needed for this one that we can cut out of that one, to get ourselves a good solid short bed. The best part, for $100, came with the tailgate, and the tailgate is in great condition. I think the latch probably needs a little bit of work, but it's not rusted or rotted out. It's still got paint all over it. You know, it'll need a new coat of paint, but the metal is all there. So I think even just for the tailgate, that would have been a good price. But we got a nice short bed with it too. So it just takes some time. Like I scroll through Facebook Marketplace, you know, multiple times a day, just seeing what's new, what's listed out there, what I could use, and be patient. You'll find deals. Now I try not to haggle too much with people, because you know they're trying to make some bucks. So if it's a fair price, you know, I'll reach out, or I'll reach out with an offer, and if they say no, you know, it's just not really meant to be. But I'll go, you know, top dollar if it's something that I need and want, and the product is in good condition. So bed's out there on the trailer, tailgate's in the truck. So we're gonna cruise on this drive home, but I figured I would take a few minutes and just talk to you guys about kind of expectations with the channel. So my goal is about every 2 weeks to be putting out a video on this truck. Still looking for a name for the truck. Someone said Big Rusty. I did a little research and was looking at Brownie or Milk Dud, just because of the color that it is now. I feel like Milk Dud was kind of fitting, but I actually don't like Milk Duds at all. But regardless, let me know. I haven't solidified the name on this thing yet. If you got any ideas, drop them in the comments. If you're liking what we're doing here and you're watching the videos, please subscribe. It helps the channel out, helps us grow. Ooh, look, nice 350 SS short bed right there. Squirrel. Yeah, like the videos, subscribe to the channel, drop some comments. It just helps us grow. Let me know what you guys want to see. I enjoy what I'm doing. This is my hobby. So not necessarily going to change 100% what I'm going to do, but you know, I'm open to ideas. I'm open to know what you guys actually want to see. If you need more detail in the videos, you know, because you're working on your project on your own, or if you just want to see like the steps that I'm going through and in getting this thing running, getting this thing stopping, cooling, going through the brakes, going through, you know, cutting it down. I think the video that I do when I do go to cut it down will probably be a little bit more detailed. We'll go through, you know, how I plan on doing the cut and supporting it and putting in the bracing and boxing the frame. Yeah, so drop some comments, let us know what you think, like and subscribe, and support the channel. Appreciate all you guys that are watching. Our views have gone up considerably since starting this project, so really appreciate it. All right, so we're about to pop these brake calipers off, change the brakes, do a little bench rehab on these calipers. The brakes were working somewhat. I think the pads are definitely shot. The pedal was pretty soft, so I think the calipers are fine. I think it needs new pads, probably needs new rotors, but I'm just going to clean these up for now, and then we'll see how it does. And then we already put the new master cylinder on. So to pull these calipers, it is a 3/8 hex. There's 2 of them. Here in the back, I already hit them with some PB blaster. Pop those 2 off, and then it is a 7/16 to remove the brake line. We're gonna go ahead and find a place for the camera. Yep, that'll do. Pop this one off. And pre-soaking these with the PB blaster really helps. I got a bucket on standby because there's going to be a bunch of brake fluid that comes out of here. I was able to pull the other one off with my hand. Once getting these out, these 2 bolts out, I was able to pull the caliper right out with my hands. Didn't have to pry it or anything. Loosened up and tightened up. There's 1. There's 2. Ooh, I don't know that we're going to be as lucky on this one. Let me grab a pry bar. These pads are, at least on the other side, they were completely shot down to the metal. There we go. Yeah. Yep, been wearing down the wear indicator too. Alright, so now 7/16. Got that pan ready. Top. Take that bolt for cleaning. That drain out and pressure washer. Alright, now we'll bring this all over to the bench and clean it up. Alright, now that we got it over here, actually I gotta find another plug. So because I am gonna dust these with some paint, once I got them cleaned up, I am gonna plug up the brake line hole. There was one from the brake master cylinder that fit perfect, but because they're different sizes, there was only one. So I gotta go in the hardware drawer and find another one here. But just hitting these with a wire brush and hit the main body of that thing with a wire wheel. get all the dirt and debris and some of the surface rust off of it. Clean these up, pull the bleeder valve. Get that guy soaking. Let's see. It's gonna be too small. That should do her. Keep that out of there. All that dirt and grime and stuff. Alright, plans somewhat changed. Just got thrown a little curveball. We got to go out on the town for a while. Got a birthday party to go do that I forgot about. So, trying to get these cleaned up, get some primer on it before we leave. Golly, that's tight. That is a 10 millimeter. A little leverage will do it. Doing it over here where the camera can't see it, but just hit it with a little brake clean, clean up the threads, make sure that the port is cleaned out, and that brake fluid can go through here when you actually go to bleed it. We got to press this caliper back to make sure that the caliper's protected. As you push that back, some more air and fluid kind of come out there, so I want to make sure that this is as clean as possible. I am just going to grab a clean rag and wipe this whole thing down with some of this wax and grease remover. Helps that primer adhere a little bit better, and then with all the brake fluid that's been on this thing, I want to give the paint the best chance that I can for it to actually adhere to this. So quick. Keep them up. You guys may not have seen me. Fucking tripod. Alright, make sure all the drawers are closed. Kind of clean up my area here where I paint so I'm not getting overspray on everything. What kind of primer we got here? We have a nice gray primer. And all right. So did a little bit of work last night once I got home from that party. Slapped the new brakes on, got the new pads, cleaned up the rotors a little bit with some real fine grit sandpaper just to get the surface rust off, and then bled the brakes. So new pads, kind of cleaned up them calipers, bled the brakes last night. Pedal came back. I still got to do the rear brakes, but that's not going to be a today thing. I'm going to wait till I get it up on the lift, I think, to do that. And then I kind of just cleaned up all the dirt. Not all of the dirt. There's obviously still a lot of dirt on here, but some of the dirt that was just sitting in the upper and lower control arms, and the years of crap that was, you couldn't even see the Zerk fittings to grease this thing. So it's all on, spins freely, brakes stop it. I'm gonna throw the wheels on at some point today and get this thing out of the garage, and hopefully take it for another ride around the block. What I did here, no, I had to talk to the wife for a second. So it's coming out here. So built this thing real quick. Had some spare wheels that I took off of a toolbox, and then my neighbor had just taken down his fence, so he had these railings, or I guess it was a deck. These were from his deck. He took it down a deck and a fence, but all good wood. Took some 4x4s and some railings from him, slapped this together. The goal is to put the new short bed on there. So this is the short bed we picked up. It does have some damage. Like, obviously the bed sides are all folded under. That one's pretty destroyed. But as we come over to the long bed, this one is all still very solid, good steel. So I will be cutting the portions out of this bed that I need to patch up that bed, and then this one's just going to go to the scrap. Got to pull the tail lights. I'm going to keep this tailgate because I think I'm going to make it one of those benches. If you've seen like the Chevy tailgate benches, I think they look pretty cool. So I'm going to do that for our front porch. We had a porch swing that just broke. So this is the blue tailgate that came with that bed, and it's all still very solid. Paint's not terrible on it. It is a Chevy tailgate, but tailgate's tailgate at this point. So that will be going on the truck. Probably need to steal some of the tailgate hardware off the brown one, but the goal for today is to get this short bed off the trailer and onto this nice rolling cart that we got. Pretty sturdy. I think it'll be just fine and be able to move it in and out of the garage as needed, and actually be able to move it around. So that's the goal for the day. I got to move some vehicles around, clean some stuff up. I'm going to do this with one of my neighbors has a tractor, so we're going to go borrow that from him and be able to lift the bed right up and put it on there. All right. This kind of gives us room to work underneath here, kind of see what the damages are. Some of this could straighten back out so we can kind of see. Like obviously up here is pretty shot, paint's flaking. It'll give us a little more essay. So my plan is like this side, this driver's front quarter, I'm just going to cut it out of there and patch it in, probably almost up to the body line, because you can see it ain't in great shape here. The headboard's good. This side, same thing. That bracket's going to fight me, but I'll take that bracket off, bend this back down. Probably we got to keep this filler neck, so probably right underneath the filler neck, and then the back corners, we'll see about these, but I may just get patch panels because they're not the best on this truck, if I recall. Yeah, the back corner is pretty good. This corner down here is pretty good, but that front isn't great. So for the price of the panels, the patch panels, plus they also got Bondo. At least this side has Bondo in it, and there. So we'll probably just get patch panels and get that cleaned up. Gonna have to do a little bit of body work to get that line back, but from the wheel well up, it's not terrible. Yeah, so we got her out of the garage. She's a little bit smoky. We're gonna let her run a little bit. Let's see, oil pressure's good, volts is good. Trying to get that temperature to come up a little bit. Just had to put some fuel in there. We're sitting right at a quarter tank now. Yeah, so I got the glove box. It's in there. You can see, you know, that's the floor pans came in yesterday. So once the rockers and the inner rockers and the cab support come in, then we'll start getting into all that. Then this here, this here. It ain't terrible, but I want to kind of let this thing run a little bit, let it run through a heat cycle or two. I got to bring that tractor back. I mean, the motor runs. Look at it. Like, I think it's running nice and quiet and smooth. My question is this transmission. So it wasn't really shifting the one time I drove it around the block. So we're gonna let this thing heat up, check the transmission fluid again, and then take it for another spin around the block and see what it's doing. If it's shifting, if it's just because it's been sitting so long and with no transmission fluid in it that it needed some fluid to loosen things up, and we'll go from there. All right, she's driving. Smoking a lot. Yep, she'll spin them.